Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Subscription Podcast. I'm Paul Chambers.
And I'm Louis Ricard.
And this is where we break down everything in the world of subscription, membership, and recurring revenue. And I'm so excited for episode number 24 here today. We are almost to a quarter of a century of podcasts.
It's a big deal.
It is a big deal.
We should be celebrating.
Yeah, I don't know if that's like an accurate representation, calling it a quarter of a century, but you know, we're almost to 25, so it's kind of cool. We're gonna dive into the news today, and we're gonna really break down the business of rental versus subscription. It falls in this category, but I've been having a lot of fun conversations around this lately with people as we're ramping up speakers for SubSummit and things like that. And I did an interview with Ryan from SuperCycle, Ryan Atkins from SuperCycle, and he shared a ton of awesome stuff with me. Gonna do that. Of course, we're gonna do our favorite, pick a random 8x10 glossy. And
8x10 people hasn't changed.
We're going to talk about that person. I've got 3 of them for Louis to choose, and then we'll talk about that person. And then we're going to wrap it up with an exhilarating game of Name That Subscription you're going to be doing for Bradley and I. Is that correct?
Yeah. Okay. This is as live as we get. Like, we're just pulling this up now.
And just a reminder, you're going to want to stick around for that because we've earned 5 points so far towards the 100 points towards the taco party.
Anything could happen.
Anything could happen.
We are not close at all to our goal, but you should still stick around.
You're going to want to stick around because if Bradley gets it within 2 clues, immediate acceleration for the taco party.
That was like the terms and condition language that I hate. Like, that didn't mean anything.
What, when you won the pizza party?
No, either you give the thing, but you don't accelerate.
Okay,
that was like such a politician message.
What happened was, so for all of you that haven't listened to the previous episode yet, Louis won the prize on Name That Subscription, did an amazing thing, and he got it after 2 clues, got the brand after 2 clues. And I promised an office pizza party, which is why now it's a taco party, because we can't have too many pizza parties. And I dropped in the Slack channel that, you know, to everybody in the company, like, hey, when do we want to do the pizza party? And it got lost in there. I think I don't know what happened. Maybe some people responded, maybe some people didn't, but clearly we need to get the pizza party back on the books. I'm committed to the pizza party. I don't want to let anybody down in our audience, and I don't want to particularly let you down, or Bradley. I don't want to let you down either.
Well, I feel down.
You could never let me down.
I know.
Well, that makes one of us.
Pizza party next year.
No. What?
If anybody out there wants to sponsor the pizza party, we're looking for sponsors. Just kidding. Well, we can afford our own pizza. Maybe.
Little Caesars at best. But
all right, Louis, let's dive into what has happened the last 2 weeks in subscription. Give us the news. It's been busy.
Man, I mean, and the fun part about this industry is it's always changing, and you may have to leave us right now.
No fire run.
Okay, no fire run for you.
The good, bad, and the ugly, though. There's a lot of things going on.
Yeah, let's start with the ugly-ish. The ugly-ish slash something that we didn't really expect. HelloBello filing for initiates Chapter 11 process to expedite the sale and emerge as a financially healthy and strong company. Yeah. Obviously, HelloBello ran and owned by 2 celebrities, Kristen.
So what's interesting? They have a pretty small percentage. They only have like 6%. They're the celebrity. Kristen Bell and Dax Shepard. They're the celebrity faces behind HelloBello. Who is it? Dr. Phil's son owns 25%. There's a venture capital group that has another 25%, and then there's some like ghost funds or somebody that has another large chunk. But them filing for bankruptcy is surprising, but not a little bit surprising. I mean, first of all, yes, a lot of great HelloBello folks were at SubSummit last year. A couple of them took the stage, including their CEO Erica, and they're doing great things. They're they're making changes in the industry, doing cool stuff. The challenge is, I read this tweet thread from Moise Ali, is manufacturing of diapers is really hard. And they decided to take it on themselves, build their own plant outside of Waco, Texas. And that costs a lot of money.
Yeah, one of the quotes within the press release was, given macroeconomic trends, including inflation and increased shipping costs, we believe that this course of action is the best path forward to ensure that HelloBello continues to bring families the highest quality and most environmentally friendly products at affordable prices. And that was from Erica, who spoke at SubSummit. Obviously, right, when you're so in the weeds like you are, it's not necessarily surprising, but you know, when you hear this news out of nowhere from a Q board winner, I think it's still shocking. I think we're learning a lot about the DTC space right now. Suffering, a lot of brands are suffering, and I think.
But here's the thing, though, they led with an exclusive deal with Walmart.
Yeah,
and they and that was part of their whole, you know, the hype at the time, the big celebrity nature behind it. And so they went straight to retail. That's tough in itself. Okay, so they launch at Walmart. They see some great success. They're building their brand, and then they go out and build this plant, which is an expensive undertaking. And that, I think that just drowned them from a cash flow perspective. And that's what happens. You see a lot of these reorgs where they just got to kind of get their feet back under them. The headline on the press release was particularly interesting. What did that read again?
HelloBello makes strategic move to position the company for long-term success.
Okay, so it shows they're not giving up. They're not folding. They're not going anywhere, but they had to, unfortunately, wipe off a bunch of debt.
Yeah, and the big thing is that they've reached an agreement in principle to be acquired by Hildred Capital Management is the name of the company. It's a healthcare-focused private equity firm that seeks opportunities to create value in middle market companies. I'm quoting here the press release. So it's like kind of burying the lead there of, you know, this is not bad news. This is a step forward. And obviously, which it is, you could argue, but still something to monitor, especially for brands that are in the GCC space. How do you evolve? How do you recoup from that? It's not the first time. We've seen Wink a couple years ago going through the same exact thing, and obviously they've
reemerged. So that is Wink had a new website launch. They partnered with Drinks and the marketing agency that's behind them and doing some good things. So they're now on Shopify Plus, which is super interesting. Another big win for Shopify has been absolutely crushing it with the brands coming over lately onto the Shopify platform. And so that, you know, Wink, you know, we could see them a lot of times. What happened, you know, they have to do these reorgs. They get over their skis a little bit, commit too much, and need to come back. When I looked at the bankruptcy filing and Moise's tweet about it, they talked about their biggest debtor was their supplier, $22 million to their paper goods supplier, which goes into the process of manufacturing the diapers. And I always feel bad because I saw this in the Wink bankruptcy filing too. FedEx and Facebook are also on the list of creditors. With Wink, that was, I think, they owed them tens of millions. At least with this, FedEx is owed, I think, 1.4 million. Facebook is owed like 1.2 million. No small chunk of change, but a drop in the bucket for those guys. More so. I'd be crying. I'd be like on the side of the street, just wondering what to do next.
But I think, you know, like you said, it adds up quickly, but it doesn't mean that it's the end. Right? And so that's something to focus on, is just because we file for bankruptcy doesn't mean everything is over, and we hope the best for them, obviously. And that's something we might address at SubSummit too, on how to keep your company afloat given the current circumstances. I think it's something we're seeing a lot. All right, on to the next. We're going into the social media world, to your favorite social media platform, X. Big time account, Paul Chambers. I think over 1,000 followers
at
now.
Paul Chambers. No, I'm getting there. I'm working on it.
See, this is where you lie. Yeah, easy.
Oh gosh, tens of millions.
But great, you're a great follower in the GTC space, and so are so many of our SubSummit speakers. So Elon Musk made a big announcement last Friday saying that he'll add more subscription offering in tiers. So 2 new tiers of X Premium subscriptions launching soon. One will be a lower cost with all the features, but no reduction in ads, and the other a more expensive tier, but ad free. Oh, so very similar to the streaming service.
So I thought you were going to go into the headline of the $1 subscription that they're getting. Okay, yeah. So in New Zealand, I think they're starting to experiment with it there.
And the Philippines, correct?
And the Philippines for, is it $1 a year or $1
a
month?
per year.
Okay. So $1 per year to verify that you're a human.
To post and interact with other posts.
Yes, you can read.
Yes.
And this is their way of trying to get rid of the bots.
Yes. So
I don't think it's going to work.
And for those of you who don't know, Twitter, big time platform, millions and billions of users. However, a lot of them are fake and not humans, which leads to a lot of misinformation, which leads to a lot of terrible debates happening, and which leads to potential horrible decision makings from officials, right? That's something we've seen during the 2020 election, something we saw during COVID especially, and that's something that Elon Musk, when acquiring Twitter not too long ago, said that was one of his biggest focus. Get rid of all the bots, really make it a forum and a marketplace of ideas.
The challenge is, like, I don't see that being the solution.
It's tough.
It is tough. You know, LinkedIn took this approach of partnering with Clear.
Yep.
So you can verify your LinkedIn account through them. And I think that's going to be something like that is going to be more realistic, because at Clear, they have my eyes, with my retina scans, you know, and they know so much about me, and they can verify that I'm human. Like, anybody can get a credit card off the internet nowadays. My credit card is stolen at least once a quarter. I have a credit card stolen or compromised. So, like, that's not hard to overcome from a bot standpoint. And so I don't like, I appreciate the approach. I appreciate the thoughtful nature behind it. I don't think it's going to work.
I think the interesting,
as much as I like Elon Musk and X, by the way.
Yeah. The interesting thing here is that what you're advocating could potentially get a lot of backlash as far as, security concerns, right? And I think a lot of people kind of push back on those biometrics element, especially to log on to things. So going to the airport, one thing, logging onto your social media platform and having to do a full screening.
Yeah, no,
unsure how people would feel,
that.
but could be something in the future.
Look, if you want to get involved in the conversation, and because that's the other part is like a lot of people hide behind the screen. And it's really easy to say, it's really easy to say, mean things and nasty things when people don't know it's you. But if you have to be out there and be you, maybe you'll be your more true self and you'll have better conversations happening.
Yep.
9 times out of 10, every time I've gotten to like a text argument with somebody, if I pick up the phone and call them, totally different person. It's almost like you're not talking to the same person. And so I think, coming back to that, if you're not willing to admit you are who you are and admit to like show your face out there and then have like a nice conversation, then you just shouldn't be part of it.
I think you can see both sides, right? There is an element of anonymity that people do enjoy as long as you can use it. But you're seeing people as anonymous as they're only going to give you negative comments and things. But anonymity could be a lot of things, right? I mean, it doesn't mean that you have to say poor and terrible things and vile things online. It just means, hey, I just don't want it to be known that it's me or anything. Obviously, we've seen the case more likely.
You can go to Facebook for that if you want to do that.
No one is anonymous on Facebook. That's just, there is a website that tells you based on, my professor in college told me that one time, a website that tells you who posts that they're going on vacation on Facebook. And it's like robbedbyplace.com, or it's like something crazy where like you just learn, okay, they're gone from the house. So anywho, we live in a day and age where everything is more password protected, more subscription protected. Obviously, that's something that is helping. We'll see what happens. Right now, there's only one subscription tier. It's $8 per month. If you had to put a price on the higher end ad-free subscription for X, what would it be and why?
That's it. That's fascinating, by the way, because they share the ad revenue with the creators. Ads that appear.
You can generate money.
So now is that going to take away from the creators too, from the ad free tier? So that like, there's some things to be unpacked there and take a look at. Ad free tier. My guess, like, I wouldn't pay like a couple bucks more, maybe $12 a month.
Okay.
What's the other tier? Did they announce the prices in there, or they just said they're going to do it?
He has not announced a price. One will be lower cost than $8, but with all the features, still the same amount of ads. One more expensive.
What's the feature you're losing when you go down?
With all the you get all the features still. You just get all the ads as well. So it's.
What do I get at $8? I'm saying is there one below $8 though, or you're saying that will be
all he says
price?
2 new tiers of X Premium subscriptions launching soon. So my opinion from what I'm reading means that there will be 2 more in addition to the $8 one. So the $8 one might be kind of in the middle, or you get a slight reduction in ads, but not a whole lot, or you get.
So it'd be interesting. It'd be interesting to look at the sign up process. And they could do like a true bill type approach where slide the scale of what you want to pay monthly. And then based on that, like features kind of appear or disappear. It's the same thing. It's just like choose this or this, but way cooler. And
I think the interesting thing you were talking about, the advertising thing, is Musk did say that X's cash flow is still negative because of a drop in advertising revenue.
Oh, yeah.
So that's something that they're going to have to combat. I think subscription, obviously, we've seen it be a good avenue for streaming services. It does feel like he's taking a similar approach. We'll see what Facebook does and what Meta does as well, because that could be an interesting. They've kind of been going along and going with the same principle. So we'll see what Meta does.
Like, I always wondered this, and I haven't had the chance to research it and understand, but how much runway did Twitter actually have before Elon Musk bought them?
I do not know that one.
Right? If he's saying they're like, okay, so I know a lot of advertisers left when he came in, but I'd like to dive deeper into this someday, not right now, and I'm sure somebody out there has the answer that's listening to this. So
and if you do, comment on the video, and we'd love to have a discussion with you. All right, on to GoPro.
Yeah.
GoPro attending SubSummit as well. GoPro subscription service surpasses 2.5 million subscribers. That's a 20% year-over-year growth. They announced that as part of their Q3 earnings report. Quote from the founder and CEO, surpassing 2.5 million subscribers is a meaningful milestone, and we're excited to expand the value of our subscription offering even further with the launch of our all-new quick desktop app later this year as an additional subscriber benefit included at no additional cost to subscribers.
That's cool.
So they're layering in value within their existing offering at no cost.
That's super cool. That is being run by Anthony Napolitano now. He's formerly of HP Instant Inc.
We know him well.
And he spent about 2 decades over there building out the HP subscription and programs, and now is running GoPro subscription. So I'm sure he had a lot to do with this, brought a lot of industry knowledge to the table there, and is building out a great team, and that's great to see that success.
Tell me what you think of this one, though. The all-new quick desktop app will be available November 2023 for Mac OS users, but summer 2024 for Windows.
Yeah, look at they did the math on that, and they saw like how many users of you know, like what their user base is primarily on. They probably like 90% are on Mac. Fine, that's where we're going to invest, and the other 10% are using those stinking PCs.
So I'm hearing GoPro maybe best subscription award coming up soon here at the Cube Awards for next year. Yeah. Could be a contender.
Good nominee, yeah.
All right, something that you and I have spoken about in private, but let's bring it up to the table. Netflix added 8.8 million subs in Q3.
I should have seen this coming. I
raising its prices again too.
I messaged this to you when we saw this, when you dropped this in the new Slack channel. I'm like, literally 2 days before I got the notice on my account of like, hey, these people can't be like lurching on your account anymore. Do you want to break them off? Do you want to do this? So called my parents, called my sister. I'm like, bad news, good news, bad news. Good news, I can upgrade for $7 and allow you to have like one person watching it on your account at a time. Bad news is like, if that doesn't work for you, gotta get off my account. And my parents made the decision. It was just easier. They probably only use one device at a time, and I was willing to pay the $8 a month for them. They've certainly given me enough in my life that I can afford to do that.
They've justified the $8 a month.
And I was like, well, it's $8. Like, how do you want me to like give you cash? I'm like, no, Mom, you can have this.
She comes over every month.
Yeah, with $8. Yeah, like just buy lunch or something one day. I don't know. You don't even need that. You just, how about thanks for letting me live in your house for 20 plus years. So anyway, so then my mom comes back to me and she's like, oh, you know, maybe we'll just do our own account. It's easier. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. And then literally the next day, the earnings report and a freaking $50 share skyrocket. I'm like, I should have saw this coming.
So there's an interesting thing here, right? They're not only they're adding subscribers because the theory here is that a large portion of those new subscribers are people that used to kind of use existing accounts already, right? So now they're more willing to pay for it.
And at first they announced that the new ad-free tier, like things weren't going the direction.
It was iffy. It was a lot of different directions, a lot of blowback from consumers of like, why? Like, I just want to share with my parents. I just want to share with my girlfriend. Like, why are you doing this? I personally thought that the password crackdown would go wrong for the company. Clearly, I was mistaken because they've added enough value, in my opinion, to justify, oh, you know what? $15 a month for the I think that's the premium tier, or $12 for the ad supported one. So I think there is an interesting model here where they didn't devalue the pricing and they said, you know, this is where we are. This is what we value our business at. If you want to come join us, you know what we're already offering because you've seen it.
Yeah.
Here's more exclusive content. We know they're big on exclusive content. The documentaries, right? Documentaries to mention right now that are big are the David Beckham one did really well.
Yeah.
And
content wins for them. I mean, when you've got content that people want to watch. I'm actually logging in my account right now because I know I made a change to my account when I added my parents onto their own. I changed my billing. I changed my plan around. Yes. So
looks pretty easy to do, which is nice.
Oh, next plan. Wait, these jerks. I swear in my life I changed this.
Netflix, you're not jerks. You just could area other opportunities.
Downloaded 2 devices. So I plan to, which I'm going to do right now, go from $19.99 a month to $15.49 a month. But my parents signed up for, I already confirmed these stinking changes once, you think.
It's okay. It's okay. Everything's going to be fine.
So that's interesting. I did it again where it's like, next billing cycle you have this, but it shows like what I'm on currently. Okay, don't panic. Calm down.
I try to tell you.
Anyway, so I reduced from $19.99 a month to $15.49, but my parents easily made up that delta because they're on the $15.49 a month plan now. So overall, it's a $10 win for roughly for Netflix there.
What do you think of the strategy of raising the prices? Like
we don't
right
have
now,
a choice
because they've done like several times, right?
I'm going to start going. So like I thought about this the other day. I'm like, I'm going to start going to the ad supported tier. My kids can suffer through ads.
Yeah.
Like I did it growing up.
We all did it.
We all did it growing up. They can suffer through some ads because it's starting to, with my Hulu and Disney Plus, everything else, like Disney Plus is up $4 a month now. And just, man.
It adds up.
Yeah. You gotta watch the spend. And look, this is coming from people who are advocating for the subscription space. But at the end of the day, like there's going to be an upper limit.
Yeah.
Like we're still humans that have budgets and have to be conscious of the spend in our household. And so I think, one of the things to look at and consider out there is how can these guys start working together? And we actually have a great speaker coming up at SubSummit that we confirmed the other day from mybundle.tv is they're going to start bundling these a lot more and giving you more options. That's what we need to continue to look at and see in there. Using the content, like, by the way, would you pay for like content based on consumption? Have we talked about this before?
You and I haven't. I think I would pay for that for live sports for sure. Mm-hmm. But for no, because I never know what I'm going to watch.
I'd feel anxious if I'm like, oh, it's streaming, I've got to stop it because that's costing us money.
No, I would pay. For live sports, I would easily pay. But anything else, I just don't know what I want to watch. And I just start putting something, so I don't want to pay for that.
Yeah.
But if I know that I want to watch it, Champions League final, Rugby World Cup is happening right now, right? So those are things like I would be passionate about.
Yeah.
Let me watch it live and enjoy that.
Yeah. So there's a couple services that are starting to bundle these up, and we'll see what happens. It's going to be.
I don't want to go too much into this and that tangent, but is this I hear a lot of consumers saying like this is a return to cable. Like we're pretty much.
Oh yeah.
This is a full cycle.
We got there like a year ago.
Yeah, I know. But is there anything to combat that perception? Is there anything to improve that we can improve from the cable years with the streaming years onto the next era?
Yeah. So I already think we're doing better than cable. Cable were just a bunch of jerks that would get you locked in, and then, you all of a sudden, like a year or two later, they're quadruple in price. And then when you call customer care, they were the most unhelpful, unapologetic, rude people I've ever met in my entire life.
This is one provider. It's
Comcast.
I don't know. WoW had that for me too at the time. I have their internet now and they've been fine, but I remember WoW's
gotten better over the
being
years.
kind of a pain at that time. But
yeah. But like,
so it's more accessible. So okay, that's good. So it's more like the behind the scenes stuff.
But it's the customer care. Yeah. It's the people that you're talking to, and so I think. I haven't tried it yet. And you don't have to call to cancel. I can manage it online and go in there and make that change. Whereas with Comcast, now for better or for worse, with Comcast, you call, renegotiate it. I'm not going to call Netflix and renegotiate it. So I take one of three plans.
Could be interesting though. Quick survey. Why would you negotiate this down to?
What would I pay for Netflix a month? But in fairness to them, like they're delivering more, the cost of content's going up.
And I think it's better content overall. I mean, there's always been like good TV, but like in general, like it was pretty much HBO Stars were the more cinematic ones. Here and there would be some, but like, yeah, I mean, overall they're higher budget. And a lot of them are more miniseries instead of, 7 seasons, but they're more cinematic. So it just kind of depends on what your taste is.
Yeah, it's good stuff. I mean, and when's the last time you had a streaming problem with Netflix?
Right. I mean,
you haven't.
And cord cutting super nice in general. I mean, I can just kind of whip out the phone and
Yeah. So like, we forget about everything that comes along with that small price to pay of $19.99 a month or $15.49 or $6.49. But like, it's frustrating when you see prices keep going up, and that's the effect that Comcast started to have on people was, what they did was just a different approach. They didn't tell you it was. I mean, they kind of told you it was coming, but it was purposeful.
Yeah.
The model was get you in low, jack it up.
Yeah.
Where Netflix is like, hey, get you in at this price point, and by the way, our costs are going up, so we're going to do small incremental raise over the course of time.
And that's I think that's the fourth time this year, or at least the third time this year. So it's an interesting effect on consumers, right? Saying, wow, like it's fourth time.
Yeah. Maybe
I should go to another streaming. We saw in the annual report that was part of our omni-channel workshop last year at SubSummit that streaming was the most canceled and the most subscribed to segment. So I think it was 73% of consumers canceled the streaming, and then 72% of consumers added a streaming device within the last year. And so one, it's because different streaming services have different shows, right? And Bradley, you were alluding to that. Depending on what you want to watch, go to Disney Plus, go to Netflix. But it'll be interesting to see kind of where the threshold is for Netflix. That's the news.
That is there's a lot to unpack there. There's a lot of fun things. I'll tell you a piece of news that kind of segues us into this next topic that I want to dig a little deeper on today is buy versus rent. I saw Charter, my favorite newsletter in the world, Charter, CHARTR, I think charter.co. Buy versus rent. Data suggests the decision has never been more clear-cut to rent. It's 52% more expensive to buy than rent. This is with houses, okay?
For mortgage payments.
Because mortgage payments, interest rates are up so high, cheaper to go out there and rent. But not what we're talking about on the subscription podcast today, but does segue us into the conversation of rental. And I had, like I mentioned at the beginning of the podcast, I had this great interview with Ryan Atkins, who founded a product called SuperCycle. SuperCycle lets you layer on top of Shopify and build a rental experience out of products. And we often talk about rental and subscription in the same breath in different ways. They're different things though. And one of the most famous ones out there, Rent the Runway. Now, Rent the Runway has been struggling lately. They've really hit a rough patch. And I think what I've read is they kind of got off cycle a little bit in their inventory. Costs are continuing to rise for dry cleaning and stuff like that. But
that was the biggest issue. Inventory was really what it came down to. They just didn't have enough inventory to fulfill the demands. And that to me is fascinating. Like that's the last thing you would expect to kind of push a company over the edge. And they're starting to bounce back though, which is interesting.
But rental's like this, I would almost call it like a mini subscription business because somebody's going to rent something for a short period of time and then it's going to move on to another subscriber. And they're going to rent it for that short period of time. I think it's a tremendous opportunity. I think there's tons, the opportunities are limitless on what you can do and what you can build out in this space. I talk a lot of times about how like I should not own a lawnmower. Like between my 5 neighbors and I, we should have one lawnmower that we share, or they should be able to subscribe to my lawnmower once a week when they need it or whatever it may be. And so I think there's a lot of fun things out there. There's a piece of software we started talking to years ago called Castle, CAASTLE, and they are a clothing as a subscription platform spun off by some of the founders of Gwenny B. And so they allow it. So like if you're an influencer, or if you're a brand and want to start a clothing subscription, which would be like a clothing rental in some ways, you can do that through their platform. Super cool and super easy.
Does it go? I mean, it feels like it can go beyond clothes, right? Which is super interesting. And just the term renting, right, versus subscribing, there's so much to be said there. Like you and I were talking about it. I thought the difference was rental to me elicits more pain, and you disagreed with that. I'd love to know kind of.
Yeah, why do you say that though? Like, why do you say rental equals pain?
Because my first thought when I think of renting is I get no equity out of it.
I agree. I feel the same way.
Thank you.
Yeah, I feel the same way.
But
especially
like,
when we're like talking about apartments versus houses.
Okay, apartments versus houses. So let's take a step back for a second and talk about like products. If there's a really high end grill, like let's say you're throwing a party for the weekend and you need a big grill to grill out with everybody. Your grill that you have isn't big enough for the whole party.
Or a keg.
Or a
keg. This is a family-friendly show. Grill.
I'm just saying some things that you might want in your backyard when you're throwing a party.
Including keg.
That's all.
Or bounce house. Or
exactly.
Things like that. So why would you not want to be able to rent a higher end like grill or that bounce house versus going out and buying it?
No, and that totally makes sense.
Okay.
I think it's a stigma. I think that's what it is. I think there's just this, especially with youth culture, I think it's kind of one of those things where people are getting into or have been renting from an apartment or something like that. Everything you just described makes 100% sense. But I think it's just right now the term, and I think that can be overcome. It's just going to take some time and stuff like this, like with that plugin and things like that, when it becomes more available and you can see that sort of how helpful that might be to do that. But yeah, I mean, I think it's just a matter of right now we know that term of one way, and we don't think of it as the way that you just described, which is very helpful.
Let me ask you this, though. Renting versus subscribing to a car.
Well, those are two. Well,
it is interesting.
They're not that much different.
Right? That's what I was thinking.
If you look at the Care by Volvo program, it's not that much different, but that program is cheaper than a car rental.
But if you want to buy it out at the end, though, you'll get a discount. If you
You technically
if
you subscribe to the car, you technically own it. There's some weird regulations in automotive space, and actually, I have an interview coming up tonight. We're going to dive deeper into the automotive space.
Interesting.
But that's a whole nother. A lot of that's buttoned down by regulation.
So that's the exception a little bit of the
yeah.
So it's more CPGs kind of or clothing really that. When it comes down to renting and equipment, right? I think of the Home Depot or Lowe's. I don't think Lowe's. I think Lowe's does it in certain locations.
They do tool rental.
Home Depot does tool rental, and that's the interesting part. What you're suggesting though is like the rental could almost help you generate revenue with people that are around you in your life. Too,
what if in Home Depot everything that wasn't a not replenishable, something like, what if everything was available for rental in Home Depot? Every tool was available for rental, everything on the shelves. If it wasn't something like a nail or a screw or a hinge they were going to use and never come back, you could rent it and they would show you 2 price points on the shelf.
I tell you
buy this or rent this.
I do that 100%.
Yeah, I'm 7 minutes away from Home Depot. I would save, the room you would save in your garage?
Right.
Mm-hmm. That's just that alone? Oh my God. I'll pay $40
for like one day.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like,
and then you bucket your projects, right? So it's like almost more time efficient. Oh my gosh!
And
get them on the phone, Bradley. Call them.
It's like I have like 7 snow shovels in my garage, and I didn't use them last couple of years because we got the plow service, and the kids are now old enough that they can shovel the driveway. Versus,
I feel so bad for them.
I know, right? But it's like I didn't need all those shovels. What if I could have, just rented the shovel when now. The challenge with that, like with an event like that, when you get a ton of snow, everybody's going to go out and rent a snow shovel. And you see that when big power outages, all the generators get sold out real quick. So there's some ways it works. There was a company years ago that we actually had the CEO speak at SubSummit, a company called Plea, Pley. And they're long gone. They started off as a Lego rental company. You could subscribe to Plea every month, and they would ship you a Lego set. And you could build it, play with it, and then, like most Legos, like they get busted up after a while and you stop it and you'd send them back. They invested heavily in machinery for the return process. And that's what ultimately created a little bit of their demise. Disney was an investor in them at the time too. Renan Lockman, really, really good guy, led the charge over there. And they just got too far ahead. They ended up being a toy rental business though.
Yeah.
Toys are tough because like kids are beating up, they're chewing on them, things are, don't come back, but I still think there's room for stuff like that in the space.
So we've been talking about rental versus subscription. And to me right now, the conversation feels like it's almost complementary because for example, Home Depot's rental program, I could get access to it. I could have priority to it through a Home Depot membership, right? So then you were talking about a snowstorm is coming. Everyone's going out. Oh, Louis Ricard, you're our Diamond Plus member.
Yeah.
There you go. We saved that for you.
That's a good point. And so that's where you can incorporate membership like that into that. And I remember I asked this question to Furnish a long time ago. It's a cool furniture subscription brand, Fernish, Furnish. And I was like, why do you guys use the word rental versus subscribe to it? And a lot of it had to do with the mentality of like renting in a positive way for them. And it made more sense to the consumer that you were renting that furniture versus subscribing. And I think there's some things to think about in there because sometimes we talk about subscribe being a little bit of a dirty word or more scary versus, renting. It's like, oh, I'm just renting. Maybe a little more low friction.
It truly depends, right? Because like Bradley said, if I were to go for an apartment,
he doesn't want to rent. Yeah.
I don't want to rent, but maybe I would subscribe to something. I don't know. But if it's for clothing or for that I keep going back to Home Depot, but that just feels painless, right? I just go in, grab the stuff, pay $40, do my thing, bring it back. There's no pain involved.
Or our cameras or microphones in here, right? We use these once a week, yet they sit here this whole time. We've made the capital investment in them, and these aren't terribly expensive. But what if they were like $4 every time? with these microphones coming out, and then they make the circulation around there and whatever it may be. So I think, there's a lot of things to look at here, and we'll talk to Ryan more about that. But I think it's fun and interesting to see the opportunity for this space, especially when a tool like SuperCycle comes along and makes it easier. Because that is the biggest challenge of getting into this space right now. Is I need to figure out a way. Okay, I can easily like put somebody on a subscription for product, but what about when it comes back in now? How am I inventorying it? How am I recording? How am I charging the person if something's damaged? A lot of that is manual work right now, whereas tool SuperCycle does all that for you.
Yeah.
On top of the biggest commerce platform out there, Shopify.
I mean, that's fascinating. Can you think of a way rental can be implemented for brands other than clothing brands? Like an example for existing subscription businesses, perhaps? So
things that you consume, that's always hard, or replenishables, that'll never work. But look at something like a litter robot, let's say. Mm-hmm. So Whisker, actually a local company here in the Detroit market, they have a product called the litter robot. It's a big dome structure. Cat walks into it, goes to the bathroom, walks out. It automatically sifts the litter. If you have cats and know that process is terrible. If you don't have a litter robot, you got to like clean it every week or whatever. So they easily could roll out like a rental model, because then you're like, they're on to like the litter robot 5 now, I think is coming out soon, or they're on the 4. So along the way, if I was just renting the litter or subscribing to the litter robot in itself, much like the Roomba subscription, then, I would not be worried about like, oh, the tech is becoming dated, or, if this breaks, do I need to do something, or how do I get the latest and greatest every time? And I think Roomba is a great example. Now, why they say subscribe to a Roomba versus rent a Roomba, conversation to be had with iRobot, and understand, like, have they tested that?
Yeah.
Because that's essentially what you're doing. You're renting the Roomba.
Correct.
Because they're going to promise you, like, if something breaks on it, they're going to send you a new one. They're going to give you the parts as part of your subscription within it. So, I think, that's one example. I think, tons, I don't know, I'd have to give some more thought on it.
No, that's good. It feels like home goods, like really that
maybe
whole
that's the
sector
category.
is kind of a category that could leverage it to some degree, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, but very interesting.
But look around the room, like, okay, the black curtains that we have in here, that cover us? Like, if we were paying $1 a month to rent those, would we do that? Maybe. I don't know. It's just like, the other part of this is we get so much stuff in our lives. And so if we can pull down things when we need them, when we want them, it just feels better.
Yeah. I love it. That's great. So rent, it's not rent versus subscribe. It's rent with a subscription element.
I think it could be both.
Or rent, it could be either or.
Membership, or how you look at it.
Yeah.
I think this is a good time to dive into that interview with Ryan, because he really lays out a lot of things in it, and really kind of shows us where the market's going. So let's dive over to that interview with Ryan, and then we'll come back for a couple more things here. All right, everybody. So I'm here with Ryan Atkins, the CEO and co-founder of SuperCycle. And Ryan, when we met, I told you you're dangerous for me because you've created a really cool product that I've got like a business idea for the future. I want to build off of it. But tell our audience, what does SuperCycle do?
So we enable rental business models natively inside of Shopify. So there's 3 main models that we support. 1, membership rental. So $50 a month, you can have 5 items and swap what those items are within your membership. 2, not subscription, but calendar rental. So I want this item from this date to this date. And then 3, subscription rental. So leasing, hiring. I want this pram, this pushchair, this cot, whatever it might be, for $23 for 12 months, and then send it back at the end of it.
Okay, so before this, I went to my AI overlords, ChatGPT, and I asked them, what's the difference between rental and subscription? And I got a little bit of a definition there. Do you see a difference between those two terms? You kind of blended them together in part of your
description. So I do. So subscription, in my mind, is usually always consumable. So whether it's content which you're consuming, or whether it is a physical product, so typically food or home bathroom, that kind of stuff. For me, rental membership is much closer to akin of a shared library, right? So some merchants will have a shared library of tools, some of children's clothing, some of Lego sets, and essentially you're subscribing to access to that library and that's what you're paying for, and then it's just you're limiting the amount of access, the amount of products you can hold at any one time. So, and I do think that is kind of a difference between kind of subscription and perhaps membership, or subscription and rental subscription.
And they kind of blend into each other in some ways, and that's the same definition I got from ChatGPT, or at least the kind of the disseminating of what the difference is rental is like it has maybe an end to the term. You're going to use something for a specified period of time, where a subscription, you gain access to things, it's like Netflix and stuff like that. But I think, with something like what you're building, you're really creating some more, I guess, like diversity in the ecosystem, allowing people to look at things in different ways. Was that when you started to build SuperCycle, like, is that what you set out to do? Why did this come to exist? How did you come up with building this out?
Yeah, so there's a few things. So one really is I see the world moving towards a usage over ownership. If I just look around my house, the amount of things which I own and use once a year is remarkable. Yeah. And I also, I'm kind of ashamed to say it, but I've got a drawer here full of the last iPhone and the iPhone before it, and same with the old tech. And all I do too.
So don't be ashamed. I've got a stack of iPhones as well.
And for me, it just makes so much more sense to have an item for the usefulness of that item to you, and then if you don't need it, send it back and let someone else use it. Like it's about increasing the utilization of items, and there's an environmental benefit to that, enabling a kind of circular economy and getting the best out of products. But there's also kind of an enormous kind of financial benefit to that as well, right? So it costs me an awful lot less to rent an item for the time that I need it, than it does for me to outright buy it. And then on top of that, you're actually going to get access to a better quality of product, because it's much more cost effective to me to rent a really good version of whatever it might be, a hedge trimmer, that gets the job done in half an hour, right? Or I can go and buy not a very good one that's it's going to take me all day to actually get the job done. It's probably going to be blunt by the time I get to use it again. It's probably going to break after the third time I use it anyway. And I just feel like enabling rental kind of checks these things: access to better quality products at a more affordable price, whilst in my mind doing the right thing for the planet. And I just see, of the options available to me, of things that I can lease, that I can hire, that I can rent, there's limits to the things that are available. People know Rent the Runway, and there's maybe a few other examples, but there's not loads of examples. And that's where I wanted to build technology that allows new businesses either to adopt rental as an additional channel to what they're doing, or to enable startups to go and build these new rental startups. But so the technology needs to be commoditized.
You're building a whole new category of subscription in a lot of ways. Like companies that wouldn't think about this before, like the hedge trimmer companies. By the way, we talked about your background earlier behind you on sprucing it up. I think this is the goals list item is like having, like, you could have like a hedge trimmer in your background and all sorts of different fun things.
Oh, that'd be a wall of all the kind of, here's all the different examples.
These are the things you could be able to rent. But so it's good for the consumer, but what about the brands? Because that's where like economists and everybody will maybe challenge you and say like, yeah, but like my goal is to sell more hedge trimmers. I don't care, people want to buy this hedge trimmer. Now I'm only going to sell one hedge trimmer. So how do you combat that type of question?
So what we're seeing, and obviously this does change sector by sector, but you're actually seeing you make more profit from renting, because you got, from the business perspective, each individual sale to a person is smaller, but you're selling that item multiple times over. So instead of selling a hedge trimmer, I make $100 for that sale. Well, I make $30 on this rental, and then $30 on the next rental, and $30 on the next rental, and actually it only gets to the third, the fourth, maybe the fifth rental, And now every rental after that, you're now up on what you would have made on that original sale. And what you're seeing is people are willing to hire better quality products so that they'll rent the $2,000 hedge trimmer rather than buying the $300 hedge trimmer. So and you can afford to kind of consumers are choosing the more expensive option. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes total sense. And I think that's a great way, now for a company to take a step back, we don't have to sell as many widgets. We just have to create better quality widgets that are going to, maybe last longer, spend the test, and more people are going to want to rent from us and be part of that. And I think
a lot of them sorry.
Well, I was going to say, so like, but then the next part comes to the mind is the tech challenges that exist with it. And I think that's where you've solved a lot of these problems, because this didn't exist in the Shopify ecosystem before you built it. Am I correct?
Yeah. So Shopify has no concept of an item ever coming back again. And there's unique challenges with rental, right? So if the item doesn't come back again, what do? Can I charge a consumer's card? What if it comes back and it's not in a condition where it can be rented to the next person? I need to deprecate that stock, and I need to deal with the inventory challenges there. I need to know which customers have which products. Also, from a financial perspective, these items don't belong to the consumer. They still belong to the business. So they still need to sit on your balance sheet and move through your balance sheet in that way. So Shopify has no concept of rental or these items kind of coming back again. And neither does the kind of subscription apps that are currently available, as good as they are for consumable subscriptions. They just don't address those kind of challenges or have the concept of the item coming back again. And whilst we do an awful lot of things, at its core, we're essentially adding the concept of the business owns the item, it's going to the consumer, it's coming back again, and then tracking all of the kind of functionality and data to map that journey.
So your software does all of that?
Exactly right, yeah.
Wow.
So you use Shopify for all the things which it's incredible at, right? So use that for the payments, for the CMS, for the ecosystem of apps, for the segmentation, for the reporting. Use Shopify for all of the things that they've spent billions of dollars of R&D building.
Yeah.
And then we add those kind of core rental concepts on top of that. So the item coming back out again, which consumers have which products, and based on the rules that you set in SuperCycle, are they allowed more products? When are they allowed to swap those products for new products, et cetera, et cetera? So
this is out now in the Shopify App Store today. I can start using it.
We're in beta with some select merchants.
Okay.
So we will be going live with a number of kind of really exciting merchants, and then we'll probably look to be kind of available for self-service install and setup, shall we say, in maybe 6 months or so.
Okay, that's super exciting. And I think, this is a good time to start to get the wheels turning for those that are out there in this D2C space, in the subscription space, in the consumable products, but anything out there, right? Of how could I take something like this and apply this? Are there any best practices you're recommending right now, or as people start to think about this type of, model and looking at using a piece of software like yours, anything that you're seeing out there they should be keeping in mind?
The great thing is we can tap into like a lot of the best practices which make sense for consumable product subscriptions. People like Recharge and Bowl, they spent an awful lot of time on kind of optimizing those cancellation flows and sign up flows and all that kind of stuff. Well, actually, a lot of those flows are still true for rental subscriptions. So we can kind of lean on essentially generic best practices of subscriptions. It's just as a rental subscription rather than a consumable subscription. I think one of the things which we're working with merchants on is them understanding where their rental stock is going to come from. That's kind of one of the biggest questions we're having, which is, well, where am I going to get like the items to rent from? Do I need to go invest in a load of stock specifically for a rental channel? And actually what we're uncovering is, well, the majority of the time you already have stock which can easily be moved to your rental channel. And a good example of that is when you look at returns. So let's just talk about fashion. So there's a whole bunch of different sectors that we can talk about, but let's talk about fashion. In the UK, for example, we have an issue, and this is broad, of wardrobing. So people buying a dress, wearing it for the weekend, and then sending it back again and getting a full refund on that. Now that's 1 in 5 1 in 5 people in the UK admit to doing that.
Wow.
It's an enormous problem. The cost of returns for fashion merchants is enormous. And we're talking, 30-40% returns rates for a number of these businesses. Now, when those products come back, some of those products can be, they're sent back, in a respectful condition, and they're still in the original packaging with the original labels on, and they can go back and be sold as new. But there's a big portion of those products which the cost and effort of getting them back into as new condition with the correct packaging and everything on, all the labels and everything on, is not worth it. They don't have the machinery, they don't have the manufacturing machinery at the 3PL, for example. Right. So with those products, what they either end up doing is going to a resale channel and getting a fraction of the RRP for them, whether that be eBay or their own resale channel. They're literally going to landfill, although people are really trying to stop doing that, but it is still happening. Or they're potentially kind of given on consignment to someone else to rent them out. So if you look at that that returns cost center of your business and go, well, how many of those products could we push to a rental channel? And we're finding merchants finding a lot of inventory there, which is actually at the moment costing them money, which we can now turn into profit for them. And that kind of turning a cost center into a profit center is a major unlock. I mean, it's Amazon's entire game, right? It's like, oh, where are we spending money? We're spending money processing payments, right? Let's build our own payments platform and offer Amazon payments to other people. Where are we spending money? Logistics, right? We'll offer Amazon 3PL. It's turning the cost centers of their business into a profit center, and that's what rental allows people to do with their returns.
Interesting. So there's some fascinating opportunities there, and I think as our audience starts to listen to something like this, looking at their business and brainstorming different ways they could incorporate this model in there, I think could be really beneficial and really fun. So you guys are in this beta stage right now. People can go and sign up for early access. I saw on your website. Is that correct? Getting on the wait list right now?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Okay, so they can go to SuperCycle.com. That's supercycle.com. Are you just taking merchants in the UK, or are you looking for merchants in the United States, or both?
And anywhere where Shopify has a presence, which is most places, right?
A lot of places, yeah.
So we have a lot of merchants which we're sort of going through the onboarding phase, which are based in the US and Canada. Some in the UK, just because the merchants are easy to access. But we suspect the majority of our merchants will probably be North America.
Yeah. All right. So you're in the really early stages of this. I have a million other questions around, data points behind it, but I know you probably aren't there yet. So here's what I want to do. I want to encourage our audience to start thinking about this, start thinking about what this looks like. Go sign up for the wait list on SuperCycle here. We're not doing like a paid placement or anything. I just love and fascinated by this. So I love having you on here. And I think this is great because we love sharing new opportunities with our audience on the subscription podcast. And then I'd love to check in 6-12 months and see how things are looking, what success stories you guys are having out there. Cause I think that's where the next round of ideas start to come from. Right. And where you see that. So, Ryan, before we kind of depart here, cause I think this is a great tee up for the future. Any other final words or any final things you want to share with our audience? How they can find you or anything else like that?
One thing which I'm finding really exciting is it being a new way for first-time entrepreneurs. And it wasn't necessarily the reason we created SuperCycle, but the things we're seeing pop up, people which are fanatical about Lego, going, Lego's really expensive, I kind of want to build it and send it back, and going, I'm going to start a Lego rental business. Or people are really into Warhammer, or any of these kind of like niche hobbies that people are super fanatical about, are now able to, or they're coming to us kind of saying, I've always wanted a service that allows me to rent it, but obviously I'm not going to go and build my own technology to do that. But actually, if it's just a Shopify app, and it's as easy to kind of launch these kind of rental businesses as it is to kind of set up a Shopify website, that could be really good fun. So I'm having some quite fun conversations with entrepreneurs. I say, I'm not sure unless it'll be our core market, or they'll kind of what ultimately makes us, ultimately contributes to our GMV. But I'm really enjoying having conversations with all these kind of entrepreneurs starting all these like really fun, weird, and wonderful rental subscription models.
I mean, look, I read the other day, I have a friend who bought an RV and he rents it out through one of those outdoor RV rental sites. And I told him, I said, I saw on Twitter, there's a growing need for Starlink satellite rentals when you rent out your RV. And he's like, I wouldn't know how to do that, how I get involved in that. And this is a great way, your service eventually be a great way for him to spin up a Starlink satellite rental service in the local market here. Winter's coming in Detroit. I'm going to go buy 20 snowblowers and I'm going to buy DetroitSnowblowerRental.com. And, all of a sudden I'll be renting out snowblowers for people who don't want to shovel their driveway when they get 12 inches of snow this year. You're right. Like it's a great way to, for entrepreneurs to get started with things. And I think that's a lot of fun.
It gets so niche.
Yeah.
It gets so niche as well. I had one the other day, home birthing pools. And I'm like, makes sense. If you want to give birth at home, you probably only need a home birthing pool
like
for
how often do you
short period.
You're going to save till the next birthday.
You don't know how long, you don't know when you're going to give birth. So I want to lease it. And then when I don't need it anymore, I send it back at the end of that. It's so there's so many like interesting niche. And I think that's kind of what really excites me. It's like, there's a great meaningful business for someone doing that. There's a great meaningful business for someone doing that. And the fact that we can kind of commoditize that technology to make that just super accessible to launch these interesting businesses. It personally excites me, although obviously the bigger vision is kind of essentially enabling the next wave of rent the runway, for example, these kind of enabling the technology for these kind of big rental players.
Yeah. This is why I said it was dangerous, because I had at least six different business ideas while we were talking today. We need to start, I want to talk about this forever. But I love this. I think this is fascinating. Ryan, I appreciate you jumping on today. Even though just for a short bit of time, I think this kind of tees up some great future conversations. And I wish you tremendous success with what you're doing here.
Thank you so much.
I told you that was a dangerous interview for me. I told you this previously.
You warned me.
And
I wasn't exactly sure.
Also, I love Ryan. Is a really good guy, super genuine. But I legitimately have 40 new business ideas now.
Would you call him a rental revenue hero? Is there a twist?
He is a rental revenue hero. Look at a couple. I think there's definitely a couple twists in there. He's for sure a recurring revenue hero. And just a reminder, as we talked about at the end of the podcast there, I think you should, if you're interested in this business, they've got a wait list for their product right now. Go and jump on their wait list because it doesn't hurt. But a couple of things we learned from that interview: huge untapped potential in the rental market. I think there's absolutely great things to look at, and it's going to open up whole new audiences, whole new markets out there. Something to keep in mind. He mentioned the movement to usage versus ownership is real.
Since 2021, baby.
Right. And that's a trend that I don't think is going away anytime soon or into the future there. We, as we continue to grow up and accumulate more stuff and realize the consequences of having these things on the environment, stuff like that, our mentality, our mindset is going to shift more to that usage versus ownership model.
It goes back to what you were saying prior to the interview, right? We don't need that much stuff if we can just utilize it when we need it. That's the whole mentality. And I think everyone would buy into that fairly quickly. Yeah.
And the last thing that I really took away is with a rental versus own, you stand to profit more. And I challenged him on this in the interview. And I said, as he saw, what if something breaks? And there's a whole bunch of factors to put into it, but you do stand to profit more if you continue to get that recurring revenue on that one item versus that one-time purchase.
Yeah, it's not about looking at it as a one-step process. Look at the long term, the big picture, and that's when the revenue comes in. If you can't expect immediate tangible benefits from it. It's going to take a little bit.
Yeah. So Ryan Atkins from SuperCycle, good people.
Good people.
And great interview. Thank you, Ryan, for joining us. Speaking of good people, we are going to turn to our stack of 8x10 glossies.
Louis transition. 8x10 people. Hasn't changed still.
We've got 3 of them here. I'm going to let you choose from them. We're going to talk about one of those people. So pick your 8x10 glossy now. All right, let's see who it is.
Ooh, Great one. Jay Dolwani from the Starters, SubSummit 2023 speaker.
Yeah.
Incredible. I mean,
So
he's as busy as anyone.
He's the former CMO of Wink Wine. Worked his way up in that organization. Got caught up in the bankruptcy stuff and departed. And then, like you mentioned, now runs a network of freelancers called the Starters. And super cool. One thing I love about him is he's always we got to hold the picture from what we're talking about. One thing I love about him is he's always just willing to help.
Yes.
Have a conversation, offer advice. And so what the Starters does is it's a subscribe to freelance talent sort of platform.
Yes.
The old model of working with freelancers through like an agency is they'd search for the person, they'd maybe find a person for you, and then you would pay a rate with a significant upcharge on that rate for that person. So normally maybe that person would charge you $75 an hour to do work for you. You're paying instead maybe $175, and the agency is taking $100 of that. His, you subscribe, and it's like an all-you-can-eat buffet of people.
and it's like the world's best buffet ever.
Like, yes, it is like prime rib and filet and lobster tail. Like,
I mean, we got people who worked with Feastables. We got people who work with Pura Vida.
Veggies.
It's just like those people work with some of the world's best brands.
They're like, his talent pool is unbelievable. Yeah. And if there's somebody that's like, if you can't find the right person, then he goes out and finds them. It's an unbelievable network of people. This is not sponsored. This is not an advertisement. It's just, we just believe in it. It's really good stuff. And he, like, follow him on Twitter and LinkedIn.
Great follow on LinkedIn.
X and LinkedIn.
Great follow.
He's always sharing just some great, as Lauren would say, uncut gems. I don't know what that's from. A lot of gems, a lot of really good stuff that he's always sharing. And so good.
And he's also, we can confirm that he will be at SubSummit 2024 with the Starters team, hopefully. And it's something big because he can talk about a wide variety of topics, right? So I was just going through a couple of his LinkedIn posts. Like his last one is like they've launched a Shopify developers on their platform. So now, I mean, just that alone,
wild,
incredible. Then they're doing more, get a highly requested new role live on the platform. So he's figuring that out. Is that the Shopify
developers? Did he say that?
I think, that was probably that.
I was wondering what was coming. That's super exciting.
I mean, his network is amazing. He is amazing. He is a wealth of knowledge. His time at Wink really, like, you could tell in the room when he was at SubSummit 24, the things he learned and then he helped other people implement, like, there's just so much knowledge there.
Yeah.
And so he's as busy as anyone. I mean, we've talked about Ron Chai, I think, not too long ago as being super everywhere. This person is everywhere, but they're always willing to lend a hand. And
it's unbelievable. I'm always so jealous of how fast they are with email. Although Jay one time said to me, he's like, either you get a response within minutes or like 3 months later.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, that's same thing. Samesies. So if you're a brand looking for some more talent to expand your talent pool a little bit, definitely go to the Starters, check it out, and use promo code. There's actually no promo code. And if you're a talented person in the space and you're looking to make a couple extra bucks on your nights and weekends, join the Starters.
Yes.
Because it expands even more. All right. Should we wrap up this episode with another game of Name That Subscription? Should we, Bradley?
I think we should.
It's time for Name That Subscription.
He's not saying it. Do something.
I danced. I just danced.
Working it.
I'm like setting the cameras and the sound and all that
we'll
stuff.
do more. If not, we'll rent as the Starters podcast host, whatever.
Yeah, you cannot replace Bradley.
This episode is brought to you by myself. I don't need any sponsors. So shout out to our PM and brother of Paul Chambers, Chris Chambers, who was busy.
Oh no,
with work
the Worst Subscription had another sponsorship. Shout out. They paid for multiple. This Name That Subscription is brought to you by The Worst Subscription. Visit theworstsubscription.com for your hot dog today.
Sorry. I tried to sneak that music in real quick.
Glad we rehearsed this, guys. This is great.
They paid for the sponsor package. We got to give it to them multiple times.
That's true. They paid $20.
I love when we mentioned like the possibility of 17 sponsors in this podcast. 0 sponsors of this podcast.
You know, we don't need them.
No.
But also, if you want to sponsor,
you want to sponsor the podcast.
Very independent, but also we'll take some up.
You got to pay the bills somehow.
All right. Well, this next company could be a sponsor. So that's
Okay,
number
so
one hit. No, I don't know.
Just for our audiences
Yes.
aware, you are going to be asking a series of questions about giving us hints. Sorry, a series of hints towards what is a subscription membership recurring revenue business out there. This week, Bradley and I are going to be doing the guessing.
He has the camera here. This is tricky, man.
Yeah,
I'm
Bradley
operating.
can't
Oh
see.
no, you. I can't see it from this.
Oh
angle.
yeah, sure. You're honest now. All of a
Okay,
sudden.
so we have currently earned 5 points towards our 100 points needed to get the taco party.
And we'll get the acceleration program.
Right, and this will be for the first taco party or the second.
This is the first taco party. The other one's the pizza party. It's coming.
So
Okay,
real
okay,
talk.
okay, yeah.
These clues were pulled like as we were doing the
Yeah, we got
podcast.
this.
So please bear with me.
All right, this is the first round worth 20
excited.
points.
All right. This company.
Netflix.
And he nails it. This company.
I would have thrown the chair. I would have thrown the
hilarious.
chair at the camera.
This company was
I was
founded
scared.
in 2012.
Oh.
Let's see what other stats I have.
I thought you had like a whole list.
I do, but I put
You're
them
like-
in
you're
different.
like- before we recorded,
They're in
like,
different
I got
tabs.
this,
And
don't
the
worry.
second,
Tabs.
this is the first round. 2012,
Jesus.
and they're not publicly traded.
Okay.
Is
Really
knowing
leaves a lot of companies out
is
there.
knowing the number of subscribers is that too big of a hint, or is that a good?
No, that's a great
No,
hint.
I don't think so.
Just
They had an estimated 5 million subscribers in 2022.
5 million new or total?
5 million.
Okay.
That's first round, people. That's all I got.
Blue Apron.
No.
Let's see here.
What are we thinking?
Really?
What are we thinking? 2012, not publicly traded, 5 million subs as of 2022.
It's not Loot Crate. We already did that one.
Yeah, I mean, I thought 2012 would be like birth of streaming, but it's not publicly traded. That would never
Ipsy.
be true.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, they have way more subscribers than that. Talk to them.
5 million.
No guesses. No additional
No,
guesses.
no additional guesses at this time.
Yeah, it's no guesses.
Okay, that's okay.
Because like I was thinking of a company, and then I was thinking like streaming, one of the smaller streaming providers.
Yeah, I thought that too, but I can't.
Then I was
think
going to
of
make a
it.
joke about CNN Plus, but it's too soon.
All right.
Got 'em.
Second round of hints. According to Ken Research, the market in which the company operates was valued at nearly $100 billion in 2022.
And they only have 5 million subscribers out of this 100 billion market.
Hey, listen, man, I'm just saying the stats.
Jeez.
So that's one. That's the market.
Wait, how much is the market size?
Oh my gosh, you were too busy talking smack.
100 billion.
$100 billion in 2022.
What?
Now,
Okay.
keep in mind, this is not necessarily just a subscription market. This is the global market in which they operate.
Okay, that's fair.
Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Food
like food.
industry.
Food is worth $100 billion
Are you-
alone.
You know what, guys? This is what happens when I pull this, okay? So if you're not happy, we don't
going,
play the
keep
game.
going,
We
keep
don't have to
going.
play the game.
Play the game.
And this is going to be a big hint.
Mm.
In-app purchases revenues
Oh.
were $22.54 million. $22.54 million as of Q1 of 2023.
Whoa.
Whoa.
So in-app purchases, those are really driving it then.
Whoa.
In-app purchases.
Take that,
That is a big. That's
suckers.
definitely a big.
I don't know.
I don't
hint.
know what you're going with.
You rattled and I
In-app
just...
purchases. So, okay, they have 5 million subs.
So second round of
22.4
hints where in-app purchases
Q1.
were worth $22.5 million as of Q1 2023. And the second hint, I already forgot it, was
That's just in Q1. They did 22.54 million.
correct.
You mentioned they're not public. 5 million subscribers. Market size of 100
Global
billion.
market, yes.
Bradley, do you have any guesses?
For in-app purchases, no. I'm trying
Originally,
to think of.
like-
I'm trying to think of something that does in-app
I
purchases
know.
and a subscription.
I know. I was
Like I
starting
think
to walk
games,
down.
but then that that.
Oh,
I don't,
hang on a second.
Yeah,
You
but I'm
son
trying
of
to
a
think
gun.
of games that also have
Epic, Activision, Nintendo subscribers. There's
in-app
got to be more than that.
purchases.
Nintendo, who we might see
So
us in
Nintendo
2024.
does do in-app purchases on some of their games,
Mhm.
and obviously gaming is
This is
massive.
a digital.
but-
This is a digital subscription of some kind.
right?
Originally, before you told me about the in-app purchases, I was going
it's
down
not
the music.
Activision. It's not. I mean, it has to have its own platform. Activision as game development doesn't do its own app, so
Yeah, Paul. Duh.
Not
I'm just
Roblox.
trying
they
to
have.
I'm just
a lot of
instigating. I don't know what I'm
subscribers.
doing.
all right, Nintendo.
Oh,
Sorry, I
One.
dinged in.
I'm bummed because
Is that your
we've
ding?
never
That
got.
was my ding. I wanted
so
to ding
funny.
in, you know,
That
like
is so unfair. I never got to
should
ding it
do
before.
that.
I know.
That would be cool.
I was
Every
like, I
single
was looking
time.
around for my phone.
Guest rescinded because you used the ding before anyone else could. No, it is not Nintendo.
Okay.
Can we phone a friend?
No, because you don't have. I'm sorry. No, you have friends, but
I do.
it is not. Okay, so guess for you.
I got nothing. Down to now. That was the 10-point round. Now
Yeah.
we're down to the 5-point
All
round.
right. Round 5. Round 3. Round 3 worth 5 for 5 points.
Yes.
This is a membership subscription on the digital platform.
Is it Vinyl Me, please?
It is not.
Membership
not-
with in-app purchases.
They do not offer any physical products within their through their membership. And I will give
So
you
wait, the 5 million subs are members?
yes.
That's their Dang.
Ooh. And then the third hint, which I'm literally making up as we speak,
Yeah.
Just say the colors
because
of
it's
the
all
logo.
in my head, because that's where the industry is talked about.
Uh-huh.
That was a hint in itself.
That was-
it was a poorly
Oh,
phrased.
so what's interesting is my guess was going to be Headspace.
It's close.
Calm?
Yes.
Wow.
Oh, Calm has in-app purchases?
Yeah.
They offer one-off like products when you go. But they are like it's very heavy memberships, of course.
I struggle like thinking of anything like that would have in-app purchases as one-offs. Like I think of those as only memberships. So
Interesting.
But yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
No, that's a good one. That's a really good one.
you got me
Not
good.
bad. Not
What's the market size of 100 billion? Tell me about that.
mental wellness.
Mental
wellness.
Yeah,
Yes.
mental health and wellness.
And you made fun of it.
What's that?
Wow. You made
He
fun
was
of
making fun of
No.
food. That's not fair.
Oh,
that's
we're mocking the market size.
I may have
totally.
been
Because it was
gaslighting you.
ma-
I
it's
may have been
massive.
gaslighting you.
Yeah.
It's huge.
That's on me. That's on me.
No, that is that's really good. If man, if you're following along and you got that before us, that's a
Yeah, that's a
impressive one.
To be
that's
very
a deeper
fair,
dig. Yeah, it's
to
a
be
good
very
one,
fair,
though.
the clues were terrible. So I do want to apologize.
No,
That
they
was
weren't
good
that
for last
bad.
minute.
What I found fascinating was like you said 5 million subscribers, whatever, and then 5 million members. Okay, and like that.
Well, I was
Switch was
more
interesting.
interested. It's funny, like the mindset of a subscriber versus a member
Yes.
is different to me,
Correct.
and that kind of changes the
Mhm.
the way I look at the companies, the possible companies that are out there. And I think I think that's meaningful from is something to pay attention to here of the way you refer to your subscribers or members and
Yes.
things like that. So pretty interesting.
Now, would you like to know why I chose Calm?
I would love to.
Yeah, because I bought it for my wife for her birthday,
Mm-hmm.
and she has yet to use it. Now, her
Really?
birthday is on May 25th. So that's neither here nor there.
Oh,
I'm not
gosh.
upset.
She
that I
really
spent-
hasn't used it yet?
No, I bought her a year-long subscription, and clearly
Yeah,
that
I
was
was
a
going to
mistake.
ask if
So
it was
Jenna,
one-off.
thank you so much for showing me love and support through my gifts. I really like that.
Hey, why did you get it for? Is this too personal of a question? Can I?
It is not
ask?
personal at all. She is someone who sometimes gets in her own head,
Mm-hmm.
and I knew she was going through a tough time with wedding prep and,
Yeah.
and work and everything. So when all these things culminated, she went on a wellness retreat for her birthday week. So I hid the envelope in her luggage, and then I told her obviously on the envelope, "Do not open this until your birthday." So it was kind of a what's it called?
Surprise.
Topical gift.
Okay.
Yes. Also a surprise, technically speaking.
Language barrier for a moment, looking for the word.
Well,
You got
know.
it though. It's always amazing to me how I don't understand how English.
Mais si vous
is your
voulez,
second-
nous allons vous
right?
faire la podcast en
Like-
français. Bienvenue à tous. Louis Ricard ici avec Paul Chambers. On va parler de tout dans l'industrie de la subscription. C'est
Hola.
incroyable, les abonnements, ce qui se passe. Donc, Paul, qu'est-ce que vous pensez de Netflix et Oh,
I will.
we can
I
cut
will.
that.
I think you should keep it in
No,
because
that's totally staying
somebody
in.
out
I'm
there is
not
going to know
editing that.
exactly what you said.
That was half French, I think.
I will
just-
translate what you had just shared with our audience for those that don't know two languages are inadequate in this world like me. Thank
Duolingo.
you
that.
again for tuning into our podcast. This has been another great episode, Louis and Bradley. I love having fun with you guys doing this. If you enjoy this podcast and you find it valuable, sharing it with somebody is always greatly appreciated. We love sharing knowledge and industry tips, and we just love helping subscription businesses grow. So there's a lot of fun for us, and appreciate that. If you follow us, like us, comment, do all the things.
Yeah, please comment. Commenting goes a long way for us. Helps us determine what topics we can talk about in the next podcast. So
if you got this far, if you're still listening, leave a review on Spotify or Apple for us. I found if you can leave a 5-star review, I think that's super valuable. And that's the way we can start to get some traction on some of the platforms. We love doing this. And Chris George told us if we don't get any good traction by episode 25, we have to stop. I don't want to do that.
You just threw an incredible ultimatum of by next episode, we have to deliver.
Or I'm fire.
But I think a review would be awesome. And if so there's going to be keyword you have to include in the review. You have to tell us your favorite subscription you heard about today. And this way we will know that you listened to this.
You're making it too challenging.
And then we will give the team 20 more points to do the taco party.
Now we're talking. Go ahead, folks. We believe in you.
We're doing this.
All right. Thanks for tuning into this week's episode, this second week's episode, bi-weekly episode, and we'll see you on the next one.